I don't know about you guys, but that 20 minutes for John's talk went far too quickly and I need to know more. Rewind.
Have a bit of coffee, feeling refreshed after the lunch. I'm going to try and wake you up. What you need to know about me, as I already said, I'm VP of Product at Hoover.
You know what? Let's speak to the man himself. Hello and welcome to the Hoover YouTube channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here, and it's also my pleasure to have with me John Hughes, our VP of Product. I've forgotten to introduce myself, but I am Rebecca Brockton. Yes, I'm Community Manager here at Hoover, and I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by John, who gave a brilliant talk at Meet Magento UK just last week, all about simplicity and the secret to building the Magento store of your dreams. So what I found when I was watching that talk is I just wanted to know more, and it went so quickly. 20 minutes is just not enough time for a talk with this much information in it. So I thought, right, let's get him and let's go through each slide and have a chat about the different things that we talked about, the different Hoover products, and the new announcement as well that we made at the end. So yeah, let's get into it. Welcome, John.
Welcome. That's a very polite way of saying that I rushed through it too much.
No, it wasn't. It's not your fault. I think it happened for a lot of the talks, I think, at Meet Magento, because there were just such good topics that were being covered, and there was so much information to share. I think all of the talks could have probably been an hour long, and I know there's been a lot of chatter on LinkedIn, etc., about making it a longer event potentially, so that it's like a 2-day conference, and then maybe we could stretch out the talk times to maybe half an hour, which might be nice. Because I feel like 20 minutes it goes so quickly, it just flies by, and yeah, I think it was true of a lot of talks. It definitely wasn't you. You did a great presentation. I just still want to know more.
Yeah, I just don't feel it helps my reputation because I previously had a talk of, I think, 200 slides in 30 minutes, but that's another story for another time. It's not the aim for me to try and get as many slides in as possible, but there we go.
How many slides was this one?
It's about 100.
Wow. So you've halved it.
In my defence, about 20 to 25 are GIFs, so they're the most important content in my opinion. But
I did see a lot of talks with GIFs this year, which was always good. I think it helps keep engagement high. Brill. So definitely. I will stop rambling on now and actually let you get into it. And I'll just interrupt you whenever I have a question. But it'll be nice to go through all of the slides a little bit slower, like you say.
All right, let's do it. Let's see how we go.
Let's try not to make it last 100 minutes.
Yeah, let's try not to. This is like the developer commentary type equivalent of slides, right?
Exactly.
All right, so the first important slide is obviously a GIF because it was just after lunch. I was trying to make sure everyone was woken up with their coffee, and if you haven't already seen it, there's a lot of Ted Lasso in here, so yeah, that's the theme for the GIFs. There's some stuff about me and my cape and other things. We can probably skip over that.
Really? You should be wearing your cape now. Where is it?
It's just down here. Hang on. Costume change.
This is better. Now we're in proper presentation mode. People wouldn't have recognised you before you put that on. They'd be like, oh, now I know who it is. It's John with the cape. Amazing. How many Magento logos can you fit in one screen?
Not enough.
Never enough.
Right, so yeah, this slide was just asking the audience how many people had worked with us. So I guess there was quite a few hands from memory. You were in the audience?
Yeah, loads of hands. I was right at the back, and I actually filmed everyone putting their hands up. And yeah, I think most of the audience put their hands up. To be fair, it was very nice to see.
We can probably skip over some of this a little bit on this video in terms of what Hoover is, and when we started and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, one of the key stats for the Meet Magento UK was that 4 of the team are based in the UK, which is lovely.
Here is half of us right now.
It's half of the team, half of the UK team now. And yeah, it was just a little run through our products. So talking about our theme, how it looks, and about our UI library and all the components. So I'm actually going to run through this quicker than I did on the talk, because you can get this information in many places already. Our checkout with our different layouts, being much faster than Luma checkout, of course. The different payment integrations that we have, and our enterprise products, and a few screens of B2B. Not the most exciting stuff, but it gives you an idea of what we've got. And our live search. So there's all our products, all four together. And yeah, the next one was this gift's about kind of, obviously I've been talking about us and our products and our team, but the ecosystem's kind of what brings it all together, which brings us onto this. So the latest stats of how many sites we've got live, which I'll come back to in a minute. How many countries, how many developers. We've got over 7,000 people on our GitLab now and nearly 5,000 on Slack. Just lots and lots of agencies worldwide. And just a note to our partner program, I got allowed to be designer for the afternoon. I made a little jigsaw out of the partner badges and got approval from Danny, so that was a win. So we've got quite a lot of partner.
I wonder if he did that on purpose, knowing that they would all slot together so nicely.
He did. He has mentioned jigsaws in the past, but they do fit in quite a few different ways, which is nice. And then just another note about we've got nearly 30 partners in the UK, second most if I got that right after the Netherlands. The Netherlands is our home territory, but UK is leading the way after that with a number of partners. And our massive amount of extensions, so over 1,000 compatible now. When we shared it at Meet Magento UK 2023, it was over 400, so we've 2.5 times, so over double, which is great. And then just to shout out some of the other partners we've been adding, so not necessarily extension builders, but just other partners in the space.
Yeah, they were all at Meet Magento as well, weren't they? All of those partners. We were all there. A few had stands, which is nice.
Yeah, and then we've got 3,500 live sites now. I think again when it was shared this time last year at Meet Magento UK, it was like 2,000. No, not 2. It was less than 2,000. It's like 1,700 or something. So it's almost doubled again. And then another little shout out to the UK. It's almost 10% of the live sites. So we're the third biggest territory over in the UK after the Netherlands and the US.
So they've got some work to do if they want to win. Come on, UK.
Yep. And then it was, looking at the built with stats at different ranks. So in the top 1 million, top 100,000 and top 10K. So those first two we've tripled since last year. And we now actually have 3 sites in the top 10,000. We didn't have any this time last year. So some nice stats to see. And we're in the top 25, or 23rd of global e-commerce technology. So that's not, we're a storefront offering for Magento and Adobe Commerce, but this is global e-commerce platforms. We're actually number 23 in the world out of all of those. So we're ahead of people like Commerce Tools, Spryker, Cilius, and the one that I did find enjoyable was OS Commerce. We've just overtaken recently. Still going strong all these years later.
Yeah. Love it.
And then finally on this side of the talk was around just brands that we're working with, and given we were in London, we've tried to find a few that had retail or based in London in one way or another. There we go.
Love it.
Yeah, and then more gifts. Time to switch over and talk less about the stats and the ecosystem and the commercial side, and more about tech, because we're on the tech track. And get back to what the talk was about, so why simplicity is important. So a bit of Roy Kent to channel my frustration was around just the point that technology's got a little bit complicated in the last kind of 5, 6, 7 years, or they started to get complicated around that time, and that we can kind of probably all agree that Luma was never really particularly well architected or fun to work with. There was a lot of frustration. It's just around whilst headless can work in the right scenarios, it's not right for the majority of merchants from what we've seen. And we think many of us have seen or been directly involved in painful experiences with either Luma or headless or other solutions. The things that in my opinion or in our opinion is before all those kind of these buzzwords got started 5-6 years ago around headless and microservices and composable and delivery on the edge, and obviously all the new JS frameworks that come out every week. They're things that, in our opinion, that merchants would never have directly asked for. They're things that our industry created to sell new ways of doing things. I think, the key thing for us is that the things on the right-hand side are what merchants do ask for, so performance and more money, and saving money on development costs and getting live quicker and having less hassle with the development side and just focusing on actually running an e-commerce business.
Definitely. They care less about how you do it and more about what you're doing.
Yes.
And I think that's true of everything. And it's easy to lose sight of that when you get into all the new technologies that we could possibly use. It's like, actually, do we need all of that? Let's strip it back and just go the best simple solution for the problem in hand rather than creating problems.
I think so. Like, merchants shouldn't need to worry about how the site is built and architected and what platform it's on. That's an agency, a development team's problem. They should just be getting a good experience, hopefully. And this is a lovely slide that Danny and Willem came up with before Meet Magento Netherlands last year. So that nobody asked for a revolution in e-commerce, and we're not trying to provide one. We're evolutionary. Trying to fix, work with what's already works well in Magento and just fix the things that don't.
Yeah. I think I love this slide, to be honest, and it definitely, though when I first saw that talk, obviously was before I was working at Hoover, and it was almost like an epiphany moment for, I think, the whole audience and everyone watching to be like, we have already an amazing base. We don't need to completely strip it and reinvent the wheel. We can actually just make our wheel more efficient and take out the best bits. And definitely we don't need a new Pokemon, guys. We just want to level up and evolve the one we've got.
There you go. Yeah. No, and I particularly like this because I live in Shrewsbury and that's where Charles Darwin is from. So evolutionary.
Amazing.
There you go. Makes sense.
It's a history lesson as well.
It is indeed. Then it was on to why we're a bit different then. So we believe that being a JavaScript dev or building an SPA is not something that everybody wants to do. We've got an entire ecosystem of people who know how the Magento technology stack works, and they enjoy working with the majority of it. And things shouldn't cost too much to build, and they don't need to be overly complex. So we come in to try and make that better. And this is the slide on Keep It Simple Stupid, actually provided by yourself, Rebecca. Suggested to use. This has been used for years and years in the development world and probably other outside of it too. Just the idea of
giving Magento a little kiss.
Then I thought I'd actually try and explain what we mean by simple. So like a mindset, a way of thinking. It's not just about having less things. I mean, obviously one of the key important points of Hoover is we have a really lean and minimal theme, a base to build on top of. It's about not having bloat, but in some cases, duplication of things can actually be a simpler solution. The key point is it's about just making it easy to understand and maintain. So using best practices, just making it logical. And when it comes to code, making sure that other people can understand what you read, what you've written, and you don't need like a master's degree or whatever to try and understand what's there. So that's kind of what we're aiming for, or what we feel like we've built with Hoover. And that leads into one of our kind of brand taglines, if you like: e-commerce made happy.
We want to make everyone happy.
Make everyone happy. Yeah. Back to Ted Lasso. This is my opinion of how building or running an e-commerce site should make you feel. It shouldn't be frustrating. It should be fun, and it should be the norm, not some wild aspiration that you might one day hope to get to.
Absolutely, need to feel like you're winning.
Yes, definitely. But this is the point of the talk. We're all getting too positive, and we need to just hold up for a minute. Because sometimes, even if we build something simple like Hoover, things are going to change, you're going to get knocked back, and you might need to readjust, reset, and adapt. So that kind of led into the main kind of performance part of the talk about what's changed in the performance world and what we've been doing about it, basically. So we start with Core Web Vitals. We look at them for last year, and the key stat is that over 50% of live Hoover sites are passing the Core Web Vitals, which is double the number of Magento overall, which is lovely. But we know that Google like to change things. They never stay still with things for long. There's always something new, whether it's a new analytics platform or Core Web Vitals in the first place. This year it was the removal of first input delay and added interaction to next paint. We're just going to call it IMP from here on out. So yeah, that had an impact to us as well. So you can see that the graph goes down a little bit. We went down to about 40%. We're back around 45 in the last month or two. So we knew that lots of our agencies and merchants would do work themselves to fix this already, but we wanted to make sure it was easy as well for people to be able to pass this new metric. So that's what we're doing next, having a look. And the first one is another channeling Roy Kent anger is about IMP is if the website takes too long to respond to input, then generally you're going to get a bit fed up and frustrated, and nobody wants that. So we've got this new Xdefer Alpine.js directive, and it's specifically for IMP. So it's kind of like lazy loading. Well, it is lazy loading, but it's for lazy loading of running JavaScript code, like the actual computation of it on the page load until it's actually needed, rather than, say, lazy loading an entire section of content. And kind of one of the benefits of that is the markup's still on the page, which is good for SEO. And for example, if you lazy load, let's say, like an entire product slider section and you scroll down to it and then it suddenly appears, that can cause a massive layout shift, which is also not good. So this avoids all of that, but stops the JavaScript from running until, for example, we scroll down to the product slider, which makes it much more efficient. We've got different methods. I've just been talking about our intersect, which is like for example, scrolling down to a section. You can also do it on interaction. So like when you click or tap on something, there's an idle one, which basically lets the browser wait till it's ready. Or you can even trigger it on some custom event. So maybe it's like, I don't know, opening a modal or something else that you might have when you want to run it.
So it's completely flexible to what you need and want, basically.
Indeed, yeah. So you can tweak it exactly to your needs. So we've got it on our demo storefront, demo.hoover.io, so you can actually go and check this out. So a bit further down the homepage, we have a product slider, and we have some swatches. We have this product that you can see on the screen now. I can see there's a method for it that's got an ID of 340. We can see it's got an Xdefer now on it, and it's got intersect, so it shouldn't run until it's scrolled down to or visible in the viewport. And I've also highlighted just a JavaScript method there that basically will run when it's initialized. So the demo here is basically to show that on the initial page load, using the performance tab in DevTools, we load the page. We can have a look. I don't know how easy this will be to see, but you can have a look and, I've gone too far. You have a look, search for swatch, and we can see none of that code's actually run on page load. And then if the user waits about 5 seconds or so and then starts to scroll down the page, and you can see that slide is now in view. And we look at the JavaScript tasks that are running again on the page, and we search for swatch. We can see that our methods run. We can see the ID of 340. You can see it all happening. So yeah, it's just one example, but if you can imagine that across many areas of a page, all of those areas being deferred, it saves a lot of JavaScript runtime, basically. And
yeah, I suppose that's helpful as well, especially if you've got users that maybe load the homepage but never actually scroll or never actually get to that point on the page because they've maybe searched or navigated away immediately.
Yep.
It completely saves loading all of these additional scripts, like you say, when they never actually needed them in the first place because that wasn't what they were on that page to do or for. So yeah, I think it just shows why it makes so much sense to implement this. Yeah. I do think that actually Willem and Vinay covered this as well, didn't they? So I will link in the show notes to those in-depth technical covers, like in the How to Hoover videos that they created. I will definitely link to those below if you want to go and get a little bit more detail than maybe that we've provided in here. But as an overview from someone like myself who maybe isn't as technical, that was a great description for me to understand why we would do that. Because I'm just thinking of all the times I've ever hit a website and ended up waiting for it to load only to immediately navigate to something else, which is why I was loading that page in the first place. Like, I just quickly went to the homepage because I wanted to go to X category, or I wanted to search for this specific product, but I had to wait for the whole page to load when actually I only needed the top half. I only needed the initial viewport. It's really interesting. I really liked the way you covered that.
Yeah, it's exactly that, and it's a kind of a more under the hood, less obvious equivalent of lazy loading images, which I think everyone instantly gets. It's the same concept. So the same thing on that slider, that the image for the slider doesn't load until you scroll down to it either. But yeah, this is just making sure that the code behind it doesn't need to run either. So yeah. And these are actually taken from Willem and Vinay's YouTube video. This is just an example to show it, the difference it made to the Lighthouse score. So it went up a good 10 points. And if I kind of drill in a little bit. So this is, as I mentioned, is for IMP. And IMP is what we call a field metric. So it is only something that you can really track with real user data. There are tools that you can use to debug, but I was, if I'm honest, being lazy and quick for this example. Total blocking time is still a decent metric, and we can see that we've made quite a big impact by adding Xdefer. So all good. More Ted Lasso to show our approval. And then at the end of each of these little demos, so the idea was to do what the new thing is, like what the frustration is, if you like, with a GIF, what the tool is and how it helps performance, go through a quick demo, and then talk about why we've made it simple, because obviously the whole point of the talk is simplicity. So yeah, we kind of touched on it already. We've made it simple by, offering it in the first place, but also the different strategies, so the intersect, the click, tap, whatever, custom events. We've got multiple ways that you can implement it. So in the demo, you saw that the HTML attribute had an Xdefer on it there, but so you can add it via template files, but you can also do it via layout XML or even config in the admin panel. And if you do it via those methods, you're basically just picking a selector in the code to target. And the benefit of that is, whilst it's now available in all the templates in the latest version of Hoover Themes, if you're upgrading and you don't want to update all your templates, these selectors will target those areas automatically for you and apply it. So nice and easy upgrade and simple. And if you don't even want to upgrade at all, we've got a code snippet that you can take and literally just paste into your site somewhere, and it will do the same thing. So easy. That's the idea.
Nice.
And yeah, this is the How to Hoover guide that you mentioned that Willem and Vinay did.
Sorry, I was ahead of you there, wasn't I? I should have checked the slides. But yeah, we will link to that exact video that is from below.
And next, we've got the Speculation Rules API. So page loads are so fast, you won't believe your eyes. So yeah, this improves performance by providing instant page loads. So the best way I've heard this described, and I can't remember who said it, might have been Barry Pollard, who works at the Google Chrome team. It's pretty much like, imagine you've opened the tab, opened the page you want to go to in a tab in the background, and it's already ready to go, and you just switch to it when you want it. It's just already loaded, which is great. And again, this is kind of based on user intent. So speculation rules, for example, would be when you hover over a link for a certain amount of time, it would then start to load in the background. You can decide which links on the page that you want to do this for. So you can provide like pattern matches. So it's not every link. You might not want to do external links, for example, or that kind of thing. And it's supported in the latest versions
links as well, though. It can.
Do you know what?
Any
page. Now I've said that, I don't know if it can. It might just be on
Sorry,
the same site.
I'm like putting you on. I was like,
show it. Yeah. As soon as I said it, I was like, you know what? It probably doesn't. I haven't read into it enough, clearly. I've played with the demos. But yeah, it's a good question. We can find out. Maybe somebody can leave a comment.
That would be good. Yes, please leave a comment and tell us whether it can load external pages.
No.
I will also go find out and put it in the show notes below. But no, that would be interesting if it can.
Yeah, probably shouldn't. Anyway,
No,
let's move on.
Yeah, it's a bit, yeah.
Right. So we have this on our own website on hoover.io. So again, little demo. We look at the HTML of the page. Right at the bottom, we've got a new script. It's got a new script type called speculation rules. And then we have a load of JSON, and we can just add conditions. So where URLs match certain conditions. So for our site, we've got the home page. We've got anything that ends in .html, anything to do with the blog, all of our feature matrix pages, and then just a load of different CMS pages. So you can see like about, partners, press kit, example. And then finally, we've got this eagerness moderate, so you can tailor it to how eager it is, essentially. Moderate is after you've hovered on or around the link for about 200 milliseconds. You can do it almost instantly. You can do it later. There's different settings that you can pick. Now we've got a little video. I don't know if these are going to work. Let's see.
Hopefully it will. If it doesn't, we'll put it in post.
Thinking about it. There we go.
There we go.
So yeah, this is me hovering over some menu items, and you can see at the bottom that we've got some speculation rules triggered in this new panel in the dev tools. We can go and look at them all. So we've matched 18 links, and we've now triggered 2 of them by hovering over them in the menu.
Okay, so it knows what links are on the page, and then when you hover over them, it's like, right, I'll get that one ready because you're interested, kind of thing.
Correct.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's pretty clever, isn't it?
It's a nice little tool. Little tool for debugging, really helps as well, see if things are working or not. And then the next one, we're actually going to click on one now. So you didn't see the page load because it's just so fast. It just loads.
Need to put it in slow-mo.
But then that defeats the point. But yeah, and then that was just an example of showing the metrics. So the key point is this page is already pretty fast on the desktop anyway. But if we look at what it has done, it's basically negated all of those metrics that I've highlighted. So largest contentful paint, first contentful paint, and time to first byte.
Wow.
They're already, because they've loaded in the background, the user doesn't experience them anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get great results. And the same applies for these. We don't have any layout shifts on this page, but if we did and they occurred on the page load, we'd kind of get around them. Same for any interactivity issues with IMP. So the very excited GIF for this one, but it almost feels like cheating. It feels like a cheat code for websites. It can have a massive impact on your core web vitals, because again, it's about real user experience. And if they're hovering over links for a little bit of time and then click them and it's already pre-rendered, you're going to get much better results.
Does this all work on things like product images? Like, let's say if you were hovering on a product image on a category page, would it work for that?
Like, if there's a link in there and the link's included in the rules, then yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, if you've got a category page and you may be looking at 2 products and you're like, do I like this one or this one? And you're like switching between the 2 in terms of your mouse hover. And then clicked it, the product page would have already started loading in the background as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
But it'll depend on the eagerness, so how long you've got it set for it to actually do it. Yeah, if you've got links there and you're hovering over them, then it'll do it. Yeah. Wow. So this one's pretty simple already in terms of implementation, but we've tried to help by adding some default rules. We've got a template in our theme that you can override to customize it for your needs. Because it is experimental, you can also turn it on and off in the Magento admin panel. And again, it's in the latest version of our theme, but we also have a code snippet that you can use if you want to try and add it manually without wanting to upgrade it.
Nice. Full of everything.
Yeah. Of course. And there you go. Again, we've got a how to Hoover. I think it's Willem and Vinay again. Could be wrong. Talking about how this works in more detail.
In the show notes.
Oh, and just a bit of shameless self-promotion. We got a shout-out on Run Vision's webinar with Barry Pollard, who actually works at the Google Chrome team. I believe he was heavily involved in this piece of functionality. So nice to see.
Yeah. I will also link to that in the show notes, but don't go anywhere yet because we are still... Don't leave us. This is very interesting stuff, but don't go there till after. But yeah, I will link to this webinar as well because it was a really interesting webinar.
There you go. Keep you engaged and keep you staying here with more.
Exactly.
With more
Stay for the GIFs.
Right. So the last kind of demo topic was about server-side rendering, and why even in 2024 it's still a valid approach. It's kind of one of the bedrocks of how default Magento front end works, and Hoover in particular. So this was around our B2B compatibility implementation. So all of the grid pages in the account area, they all have these lovely spinners look, just to load a table. So this is a throttled connection. It's a slow 4G to match Lighthouse. But yeah, it's not very nice.
It's not great. I was going to say that. I was like, was that meant to be good? Because that was pretty slow.
Yeah. So when I joined this time last year, my first job was to start working on Hoover Enterprise compatibility, and B2B was one of the main areas. And yeah, I was greeted with that in my first week, and I was like, oh, we don't want to use that. We don't want to replicate that. Let's try and look at another way of doing it.
Absolutely.
So this is
perfect as well.
a very simple one. Is just, there you go. Look how quickly it loads
Wow.
now.
That's
it's just part
so
of
much different.
So yeah, it's very simple. It's just a collection, Magento collection of all the data, part of the main page response. So we're not having to load the data via additional AJAX requests after the page is loaded. So there's no spinners. And yeah, on a slower connection, again, that was throttled on 4G, slow 4G, makes a big difference. So that is the difference in metrics. So nearly 10 seconds on Luma, under 2 seconds on Hoover Enterprise, so 5 times faster. And then just completely, well, not unrelated, but this, I just had to highlight that. That made me fall out of my chair when I was putting these together. I was like,
the size difference. Oh my God. It's mad. And like, you've got to think as well about, I mean, I know we're not really covering it in this talk, but like the sustainability as well, like the effects of how much like is required to load that much data in a browser.
Yep.
Yeah, that is a ridiculous size difference. That's absolutely insane.
It's just a table.
It's just but the world's heaviest table by the looks. It's an actual table.
Well,
Someone is carrying a physical table into that website. But no, I think it's important as well, because I think B2B especially almost kind of can get overlooked a little bit in terms of performance, because it's like they'll wait because they need it kind of thing. It's not if you're already like I feel like the B2B process has only been in the last couple of years maybe that it's started to have the same amount of attention given to it as B2C's always had in terms of performance. I think so. Is really nice, because I think you do still get a lot of B2B sites and B2B systems that are so slow and sluggish, and you
do. It's kind of almost like people expect it, but I think more and more, especially as generational shifts of who B2B buyers are, there'll be more and more mobile usage for B2B orders, and doing things out and about, not necessarily just sat behind a desktop in an office. So being able to load a page in a respectable time frame it will be important. And simplicity for this one, I mean, it's simple by nature in terms of what we've done, but we've implemented it across all the tables in B2B. So we saw purchase orders there, but there's company users, company roles, negotiable quotes, company credit, approval rules, requisition lists, probably more. I can't think. There's a lot. So we've tried to do it. We've done it the same way across all of them. Standardized codes, easy to extend, simple table markup, the same as the theme markup. Shout out to Sean there who made that markup nicer for our theme, and we've made it the same in Enterprise for consistency. And there's no JavaScript. It's just a table. It doesn't need JavaScript. There might be the odd bit here and there that has an enhancement with JavaScript, but there's no actual JavaScript to load a table. So nice and simple. Right, and then there was two that didn't have time to cover really. That were around just reduced amount of code and data. First one being our JavaScript page registry. It's again a little bit like the ethos of the Xdefer, but in this case we're actually removing JavaScript code from the page entirely if we don't need it. This allows you to basically conditionally render JavaScript code from one template to another, for example. And the best example of where we've done this is in the page builder widgets. So previously, all the JavaScript code for the page builder widgets was at the bottom of every page, just on the off chance that that particular page builder content type might be on the page. Now they only get output if that page builder content type is on the page. So if it's for tabs or carousel or whatever it is, they only get included when needed. So yeah, you can save up to 500 lines of code.
Yeah,
It's definitely, especially seeing as I wrote most of those 500 lines of code way back when. So it's definitely a good thing.
That doesn't need to be there. What were you thinking, past John?
Yeah.
No, but no, that will make a massive difference, like you say, especially for merchants that rely on Page Builder.
And again, it's in our latest version of our theme. And there's a documentation page for it we can link. And then finally, one that was very recent, so we didn't have time to do much around, was released literally a week before Meet Magento UK. We've changed how the steps for our checkout work. So previously, all the steps for the checkout, so imagine you've got like shipping, payment, maybe you've got a custom step in the middle somewhere. All of that was loaded into what we call the customer session and stored and retrieved from there, which can be quite a lot of data. Now we only load what we need. We use query parameters in the URL, so we can see like eg/step/shipping. So it's a massive reduction in memory usage, and it's also meant that it's been easy for us to implement proper browser history navigation. So previously, if you went from the cart to the shipping step to the payment step and then hit the back button in the browser, you'd have gone straight back to the cart.
Straight back to the cart. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we've sorted that, and that's now
Nice.
in the latest checkout release. So yeah, another nice little win. We've got more work, more improvements to do around that area, but yeah, good step forward. So yeah, again, just nice simple stuff. And that was all of the technical stuff. So yeah, that was probably enough for a 20-minute talk on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, how long have we been talking? We've been talking to each other for 45 minutes. So yeah, like, but I've learned a lot. Obviously, stuff that, like you say, I've seen and been reading about, but it's nice to go through it at a slower pace and actually talk about real world examples of where we can implement each of these different things and the difference that it makes for both front end users and developers as well. So yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the talk in 3 acts, I suppose. The first act being the commercial ecosystem stuff, second act being the technical stuff geared for the technical track and the developers, and then lastly we've got the product updates and roadmap for what's coming next or what we've released. So
I love this 3-act theme that we've got from Meet Magento, from Eric's keynote. Yeah. It's perfect. We've it's almost like we planned it. We didn't. But...
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, the first bit was a disclaimer that we don't do deadlines. It's ready when it's ready. So yeah, these are just a rough guide.
Yeah.
So on our theme, these were things that either released recently or since Meet Magento UK last year. So in the last year, essentially, like the key things that have happened. So on our theme, like the biggest release we've probably done in the last year was our accessibility release with our partner Snowdog, which was great to see. And then yeah, I've just noted the other ones in there. We've got the XDefer, the speculation rules, and the JS page registry. And then coming soon, and it should be very soon now, the MPA View transition support. I've already seen a sneak peek from Sean. It looks really, really cool. So this allows you to do nice kind of animated transitions between pages. So yeah, that'll be another
exciting.
experimental feature that we'll have soon. And then on the theme, there's not too much more to share right now. You just kind of have to watch this space and see what we come up with. But we'll obviously continue with performance and user experience improvements. Yeah.
Definitely.
Our UI library, there have been lots and lots of things released. So it got announced on stage at Meet Magento UK 2023. Since then, we've had like layered navigation, including Elastic Suite support, lots of things on the product page. So tabs, gallery, magnification of the gallery, review sections, We've done mini cart variations and an add to cart pop up. So when you add something to your basket, you get a nice little pop up, and it shows you what you've added and what you want to do next. And then just loads and loads more. So accordion swatches, more accessibility stuff, lots and lots of things.
Just on that accessibility stuff, Cuba from Snowdog did a talk at Meet Magento on accessibility, which was awesome, and I can't wait for that to come out in terms of the recording. Obviously, I've spoke to him quite a bit about it previously, and we've got blog posts on our website all about accessibility, and it's extremely relevant at the minute because in exactly 1 year from the 28th of June, it will become obviously a law that your site must be accessible for European standards. We've already got some rules around it in this country, but yeah, the European Union are bringing in laws around accessibility, which is so important. But yeah, as soon as that talk gets released from Meet Magento, I will update the show notes here to include a link to that accessibility talk from Cuba, because yeah, I missed it unfortunately, but it got amazing reviews, and I've heard summaries from other people about the talk, and so I'll definitely be catching up on that talk. And yeah, so yeah, definitely, I just wanted to touch on that in terms of accessibility.
Yeah, that's it is a good and important talk. I've seen an older version. I saw it at Meet Magento Romania. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. And on the UI, what we've got coming up soon, we've got order success page, new cart page variations, and a 404 page. We've got a sneak peek here from our designer Danny for the success page on the left and a cart page variation on the right. And I didn't have time during Meet Magento UK to make a note that this cart page variation is going to be one of the first UI components. We'll also have some support for Enterprise to some of the features in Enterprise that you can, if you squint or zoom in far enough, you can see things like gift cards and store credit there. So yeah, we've considered Enterprise features for that particular UI component.
Amazing.
Which is good. Our checkout, we've had many releases. One of the key ones being what we call our standalone login component. So previously on the on the first step, if it's a multi-step checkout, when you have shipping at the start, or if it's a one-page checkout in the shipping part of it, the email address was kind of part of the shipping address form, if you like. Whereas now it's a standalone component because it is a separate piece of information really, and you can now log in if you already have an existing account nice and easily. So yeah, that's a nice addition. We've done lots of work on address finders and auto completion, like a standard way to implement. I'll come back to those in a second. We've got the step navigation and browser history that I showed a few minutes ago. We're working at this moment in time on Adobe Payment Services with our partner Bmeyer. So look out for that soon. And again, we've got more things that we're working on in terms of enhancements. We've got we would like to get standalone Luma support implemented as well, so that you don't need the Hoover theme to have Hoover checkout. So that would allow merchants that are on Luma at the moment to start by implementing the checkout. You can do it at the moment, but you need a license for both. Okay. And then the other thing is yeah.
I only say that because we when I was agency side, we'd do a lot of, like you say, checkout only prior to doing the theme, or vice versa, do the theme only and then the checkout, which obviously if you're doing it that way, that works for how our pricing works. But yeah, standalone Luma support coming soon is a good one to look out for.
Definitely. And the other thing we've been putting a lot of time into, and we'll continue to, is documentation and training materials. But just back on the address finder stuff, we've also had quite a few implementations completed, either in-house by us or by some of our lovely partners. So yeah, we've got quite a few available now, which is good. And then finally, Enterprise. Oh, this slide needs updating. So B2B is now done for theme and checkout. Checkout's not coming soon. So yeah, B2B is fully feature complete across both now. So that's good. Our Adobe Sensei, our live search product recommendations, they're all done too. So that's ready to go, or has been ready to go for some time. And then on the rest of the commerce features, so things like gift cards, reward points, store credit, customer segments, events, private sales, website restrictions, and more staging, content staging and preview, they're all done and ready. We're just working on some of the final features left for both the theme and the checkout. But yeah, most of it's already ready and available. We have a matrix. Maybe we could put a link to that in potentially.
Yeah, definitely. I'll include that in the show notes. I might put a little screenshot on there as well of the actual matrix, because I know there's hardly anything that are left in terms of, like, say, the final features. You've done it in a very clever way, in that you've definitely prioritized the more frequently used elements of Adobe Commerce.
Yes.
So like the ones that are left are ones that probably don't really get used that much by a lot of Adobe Commerce B2B retailers anyway.
Yes, definitely. The ones that are left, they're either not been asked for by anybody yet, or there are better alternatives, if I'm honest. So for example, Google Tag Manager is one that has been mentioned, but there are so many compatible alternatives that actually offer more features already. Yeah. Generally best to go with one of those. And then, there's just a couple of others left that we'll see if demand changes, and we'll shift focus. And then things that we want to look at going forward, mostly around the B2B. So at the checkout, we want to give a bit more kind of customizability to developers to make better experiences. So at the moment, our checkout supports different layouts that you can select in config, and you can also select a different layout for mobile devices, for example. We also want to look at around B2B companies. So when you're logged in as a company user, we want to look at offering the ability to switch to a different layout for company users in case you want to do a completely different checkout experience. And the same for step conditions as well. So maybe you want to use the same layout, but you want to have a step appear or not if you're a company user. So you can already do that for things like whether you're logged in or whether it's what you call a virtual checkout. So when there's no shipping needed, that's when we hide the shipping step, for example, or shipping section. Yeah, we want to do those kind of things too.
Nice.
B2B. And then Adobe, we saw at Adobe Summit plans for new B2B features. So parent and child company accounts, and lots of different quote features like quote templates, draft quotes, and duplication of quotes. I've crossed out summer here because Adobe have recently updated their documentation to say it's exactly when it's going to come now is unknown. It looks like it'll still be this year, but we'll see. But we've been working with beta versions to try and get things ready. So when the time comes, we'll make sure that that's ready. Be ready, exactly. And that is all of the product roadmaps. Except we've got this sneaky little channel in my kind of inner Steve Jobs, if you like. One more thing that we wanted to share on stage. And that was to do with what's generally referred to as edge delivery services, but is around Adobe's new Commerce Storefront offering. So that's edge delivery services, which is the kind of the CDN, the mechanism for delivering the content. There's Commerce drop-ins, which are like the little bits of JavaScript code that you can drop in for commerce features like product lists or whatever. And then all the content that you can author in Adobe Experience Manager, whether that's via Google Docs or Word or whatever, however you want to do it. So Adobe announced that, showed quite a lot of that at Adobe Summit. And many people might have already seen these kind of boilerplate type sites that you can build using Edge Delivery Services and AEM. And we've had some questions from agencies that are working with merchants at that higher end of the scale. So obviously AEM Experience Manager isn't the cheapest of products. It is definitely for the higher end of the market. But at that end of the market, we've had questions around should we use Edge Delivery Services and all this stuff that goes with it, or should we use Hoover? And we had a little think around this, and then we came up with the idea of, well, why not both? Because at the moment, the sites that are running Adobe Commerce sites that are using Edge Delivery Services, generally using something else for the cart and the checkout, like PWA Studio, for example, and for the account area as well. So we thought, why not? Why don't we try and integrate Hoover? We spent a bit of time researching this along with our partner at Nets98 Valantic. Vin IR and Christian Munch have been the kind of key drivers of this. We also had some input from Sean to make it look a lot nicer. than it did out of the box. So yeah, we've done some research into this, and we've now got a kind of a nice base level integration that we'll be sharing more details on soon, and how you can go about using it and implementing it. But essentially, it allows you to use content from Adobe Experience Manager served by Edge Delivery Services, and integrate Hoover at the same time. So we can have like a shared menu, as you can see, powered by content from AEM. But equally, you can have cart contents from Hoover on the same page. And if you went to a Hoover page, you'd also be able to add content from Experience Manager there. And we've got a shared header and footer. So they're all synchronized between the two. Yeah,
Amazing.
you can now
Completely
nicely
seamless.
integrate.
Yeah.
Seamless indeed.
We've actually,
Yeah, said.
on this prototype demo store coming soon, I have actually just booked a call with Vinay and Christian and Sean and Willem for Monday. So by the time you're watching this, we could either be filming it right now, or it could already be out. So if it is out, again, I will put it in the show notes, or you will find it on our YouTube channel. But yeah, we are going to be deep diving into that EDS integration so that I can learn more about it myself as well. And also, yeah, we'll go into both what it means for merchants and users, and also what it means for developers, so the technical side as well. So I'm really looking forward to deep diving into that next week. So yeah, that video is coming very, very soon. And like I said, depending on when you're watching this video, it might already be out. So go and have a look for it if so. But after you finish watching this, not now.
And then, yeah, another GIF, obviously, to say that I'm basically done, because yeah, we were definitely running out of time, or probably over time at this point. So just a few key takeaways about simplicity again. So asking merchants to think about what they want to achieve. So don't come asking for headless or composable. Tell agencies what your actual business needs are.
Yeah.
And then developers, agencies, think about what's going to be best to achieve those goals. Not necessarily. Don't start with the framework first, if you like.
Yeah, and almost
start with
force it to
the
fit.
goals.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then just to mention again, of obviously if you want better performance, faster delivery, lower costs, and something that's enjoyable to work with, then believe in simplicity, and hopefully that leads to e-commerce happiness. And yeah, we think at Hoover we've got the tools to help. Yeah.
Definitely.
What left? Oh, and then there's just a little point to some of our showcases. We've got more of these on the website if you want to see them.
Yeah, well, I'll link to them in the show notes as well.
Should have updated this slide as well. So if you have questions, don't come to our booth, because we won't be there anymore. The event
Yeah,
the event
the
is
mermaid
finished.
will be very confused if you show up looking for us. But you are more than welcome to leave any questions or anything in the comments below, and both me and John will be keeping an eye on the comments and reply to you there. Or obviously you can find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and in our Slack channel as well if you are in the Hoover Slack. Yeah, we're everywhere. But yeah, definitely leave a comment, especially if you think it's a question that will be useful to people that are also watching this video, so that we can share the answers all together. And yeah, is that are we done? Is that everything?
Nearly. Two more.
We've got more.
Two more gifts, of course. So this first one was just a commitment from us at Hoover to basically say, as we've done with the IMP and the speculation rules, when the performance goalposts get moved again, which I'm sure they will do, whether it's by Google or something else, we're committed to making sure that we can give you the tools to maintain or improve. And given the concept, or not concept, one of the running themes of the day at Meet Magento UK was about community and about how positive and things are in the Magento community right now. It's just a little mention of Magento is life for many of us, and if that is the case, come and get involved, whether that's like Hoover or on our Slack. There's things like MageWire, which powers our checkout, that you can get involved and contribute to, or more wider community things like MageOS and a Magento Association. And that
Absolutely.
promise is the end. One more gift. So thank you. That was it. Yeah, there you go. Done.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, there's not as many people here to clap you as there was when you were giving this talk at Meet Magento. It's just me. But no, that was really awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, like you say, definitely get involved with us. We are also heavily involved as much as we can be in MageOS and Magento Association, because we are passionate about Magento here at Hoover in general. So yeah, we always want to do more and make sure that we are the best. But yeah, thank you, John. That was really, really good.
You're
I mean,
welcome.
we have been talking for over an hour now. I don't think the video will be that long because I'm going to cut out all of the times I rambled on. But no, it's been really, really nice talking to you and going through these slides. And I'm glad that we did this. So thank you.
Yeah, me too. It's been good. Cheers. And yeah, I do wonder how I managed to do that in just over 20 minutes the other day. But there we go.
I have no idea. Yeah, but it was a whirlwind talk, and yeah, I think I've seen a few people mention, like Willem's mentioned, that he was sat next to two ladies who were literally scribbling so fast notes down about everything that you were saying, and I saw that a lot in the audience of just wanting to get all of the information off you, but also wanting to know more.
That's a good point, actually. I usually mention that, and I forgot this time. Probably due to time. If people want the slides, we can share a link to the slides as well.
Yeah, we can put that in the show notes as well. These show notes are going to be jam-packed with information, peeps. It's basically going to be like a blog post in the show notes. So yeah, definitely go through them. But I think we've covered so much in this video. I think it'll be super valuable to people that watch it. And if you're still here now at this point where we're just rambling about how good our ramble has been, thank you so much for being here. We really, really appreciate the Hoover community and everyone that just surrounds us with such love. So yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And thank you for choosing Hoover.